now you have become the very thing you swore to destroy.
So, a little bit of background before we begin. My original intention was, honest to God, I was going to do Red Letter Media, and I was thinking of doing a reaction to either Wonder Woman 84, hence the Wonder Woman images, or do something on the Phantom Menace, or do even Cosmonaut and them on the Phantom Menace and prequels. But I was also planning to do something on Mauler and planning also to do a lot of stuff on Solo. And I think in retrospective, I was like, I want to spend a little more time looking at what Cosmo has to say as well as Red Letter Media. I'm going to be very critical, and I want to be even handed to all these people, right? If I'm going to be critical of EFAP and Maul and stuff, obviously I should be critical of people who are more positive about The Last Jedi and Force Awakens and things like that. And this is relevant because in Wonder Woman 84, yes, in their review, they do bring up The Last Jedi explicitly. So I know I'm going to get a bit of hatred on that, but they did do it. They actually referenced The Last Jedi positively. So I want to give it a little bit more time to think through what I want to say. So in the meantime, we're going to make Mauler look like a fool, which he does often all by himself. So this is a little small clip from the beginning of his, quote, rage video on Solo. And as we see, we're going to hear him make quite an astonishing argument. And it's more like an innuendo, and it's just so bafflingly wrong. It's shock. So we'll let him speak, and we're going to play a clip also from the original trilogy, which he does too, by the way. And this is important because oftentimes when these arguments happen, there's a certain logical trick people keep trying to pull, but it's not going to work in this case. So I'm going to be really interested to see how people react. So we'll let him speak and then react to it.
Hey guys, remember this?
I've outrun Imperial starships. Not the local bulk cruisers, mind you. I'm talking about the big Carillion ships now.
Yeah, that one line, they made it into a whole movie. Remind you of anything?
You weren't on any mercy mission this time. Several transmissions were beamed to the ship by rebel spies.
No, my father didn't fight in the wars. He was a navigator on a spice freighter.
That's what your uncle told you. He didn't hold with your father's ideals, thought he should have stayed here and not gotten involved.
You fought in the Clone Wars?
Yes. I was once a Jedi Knight, the same as your father.
So I think the clips kind of speak for themselves. His joke or argument, as far as I can tell, is like, oh, we've got one line. They made a whole movie from one line. Comrade, did you see what they did? They made a whole movie from one line. As far as I can tell, that's not really an argument. It's sort of you have to piece together a few premises, but it's like, okay, I guess it's that we shouldn't make a film based on a single line. But Disney did it with Solo, and hey, Disney even did it with Rogue One. What do you have to say about that? And the answer is, of course, well, if he had paid any attention to the same film he's referencing, Lucas managed to do not one film, not two films, three films, technically 4 films if we count the animated film, based on one line, The Clone War. I mean, if you look at the original trilogy closely, that's it. We just get that one line, so that's all we have. And I know some people are going to be like, whoa, wait, okay, yeah, okay, yes. Obviously, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, but Phantom Menace, no, if you paid attention, and you read the Plagueis novel, in other words, if you know what you're talking about, you would know the Clone Wars actually started very, very early. They were already planning it from the very beginning. So, yeah, technically the whole prequel trilogy is the Clone War. And then we have the animated film, and we even have a television series. So, based on Mauler's own crazy logic, and depending on how we count the Clone Wars and their consequences, because we could count the original trilogy too, by the way, so it's bad if XYZ makes one film based off one line, and if it's Disney, it's evil and stupid, and we see what's going to happen. But if Lucas does it, if he makes 3, 4, 5 films, television series, that's okay. I guess, because one of the tiresome tricks he keeps trying to pull is, whataboutism, whataboutism, whataboutism. Like, he just keeps shouting it and shouting it and shouting it. But here's the problem. The usual tack is to say, we're talking about The Last Jedi. We're talking about Rian Johnson. We're talking about The Last Jedi. Even though his own clips keep referencing everything else. They keep referencing the prequels. They reference the original trilogy. He brings it up explicitly. But oh, no, you can't bring it up. He brought it up, but you can't bring it up. It makes no sense, but it's like, okay, fine, so let's stick to that standard. You can't talk about any other film outside of the film being discussed. Well, what film did he discuss? The first film. What clip did I use? I used the clip from the first film. Admittedly, there's a bit of editing issues in terms of overlapping it with the Clone Wars, but if we just listen to the audio, and only the audio. That's from the first film, and that's all Luke does. He just references the Clone Wars, which we know nothing about. So you can't use the whataboutism trick. It's the same source, it's the same material, it's identical. In fact, Mauler uses the same film twice. So we have a big problem here. Either he entirely forgot about the Luke and Obi conversation, which, if it's true, completely undermines his entire reputation, because it means he doesn't even pay attention to the media he's referencing. So much of him being a Star Wars expert, he's not a filmmaking expert either. So that goes out the window. So what do we have left? Well, I guess it's meant to be a joke. I guess it's just inadvisable to make a film based on one line. But here's the problem with even that argument. It would be like, nothing follows from that. If you make a film based on a line of dialogue, that will not tell us that the film is good or bad. A spin-off film can be perfectly good. There is no evidence whatsoever that just basing a film on a line of dialogue is, quote, bad. So, yeah, he hasn't said a single thing about anything, and he's proven again his insane amount of ignorance about the subject. So, I think we've pretty much shown, when it comes to him in Star Wars, there's not much going on in his brain. He is cognitively very limited on the subject, and he just keeps pulling the whataboutism, the blue mill, Rian Johnson, the evil of J.J. Abrams, and it's just this very tiresome rhetorical trick. Now, that's not to say he's, quote, wrong. I will agree with him that Solo is a bad movie. I think independent of him, he is correct. There were so many production issues. There are so many questionable things that were done behind the scenes in front of the camera with Solo. So my own judgment of Solo, it is a very poor film. It's very below average. How bad I don't know. It's very, very hard to judge, especially because Ron Howard is a good director. I don't think they meant to put out a bad film, but they clearly made a lot of really questionable judgments. What's astonishing to me, though, with Mauler is there are so many genuine issues. There are so many genuine actual problems with the film. He manages in the course of an hour to really, as always, pick up on like maybe 3 valid points, and he manages to just stuff it with tons and tons of stupid jokes, cursing, 4-letter words, and issues that have nothing to do with Solo. And he keeps bringing The Last Jedi as if Rian Johnson and Ron Howard were coordinating a conspiracy. So yes, you can dislike Solo, you can really find good reasons to find it a bad movie, but Mauler does not provide any. He really just keeps referencing stuff that is not at all relevant to the discussion. In fact, the video itself that he makes really itself is a model of what he's criticizing. Bad editing, poor acting, not believable performances, continuity errors, problems of logic and fact. That's all in his video. It's in Solo as well. So it's kind of a weird parallel, like he is what he's criticizing, but that's Mauler for you. He's literally putting out bad movie content. It's just not a very good performance, at least in my opinion. Alright, this has been Star Wars Analyzed on the beginning of Molly's rage against himself? Against reality? I don't know. We'll see. Thanks for listening.